Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Good morning. Welcome to the Northland Sports Page. Happy Saturday, everybody. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. What a week once again. We'll do our best over roughly the next 2 hours to recap all of it, mainly in the world of sports, but in the world of weather. We had the first official day of spring earlier this week, and I hope you enjoyed it because if the weather forecast is correct, it sounds like the first day of winter might just be tomorrow. Good morning, Dave Cook. You're still dancing. The music's done now.
Yes, okay, all right.
We need you to talk now, but it's a good jam to get you started on a Saturday.
Great Lakes, yay!
Yeah, exactly. That'll get you going every time. We should have a greatest PSA debate, either on the show or on Twitter or on some form of social at some point, because if you listen to this station long enough, you have it memorized, probably like we do.
Yes, 100%. So, no, Brian, I was in Grand Marais on Thursday, right? And coming all up and down, it's sunny out, the lake is beautiful, and I've been listening to podcasts and music on the way, and I turned on the radio, and the first thing I hear is, chance of 2.5 feet of snow on Sunday. And I'm like, look at it out here. Snow should look at this. And it should say, this is just beautiful. We don't want to come and ruin it. And Dana said, yeah, I wish that was how it worked, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, you and me both, because I was about to ask you, we mentioned it was spring earlier this week in terms of calendar, and it sounds like in terms of forecast, it's going to be winter by tomorrow. And my question was going to be, where do you fall on this to work in another season?
Right, I was going to say, what do I have to say? I spring right into it?
Yeah, spring right into the snow and bring it on. But I don't want it because this is the time where you should be thinking about spring, even though you could argue that we had it in January and February. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where maybe we get a foot or more, but that brings the total to a foot or more for most of the year. Are you going to get over it quicker? Because it sounds like, knock on whatever you can find, we're going to get rid of it quicker if it shows up.
Yeah, Dana and I were laughing. We said, we can tell we're adults, like real adults now, because both of us said, 20 inches is a lot of snow, but it hasn't snowed all winter, and we really should. In fact, it shouldn't rain because if snow melts slower, and then we both went, God, how old are we?
I was going to say, have you turned it into the winter version of, we really need the rain?
Yes.
Because I can't stand in the summer when people say that.
Exactly what it was, but we don't need the rain because it's going to wash off too fast. We need the snow so it'll settle and melt slowly. And then we both went, pass the milk of magnesia, will you?
Wow. I thought maybe kaopectate, but milk and magnesia, you got the other direction headed.
You got to go old.
That's when you know you're getting up there a little bit. But, you are, 56 now?
Us cool old guys, we just call it mom.
Why'd you point at me? Why'd you point at me?
Pass the mom.
I'm going to be 45 next Thursday. I'm not in your decade yet. And with our 11-year spread, I never really will be.
Right.
That's the nice part, perhaps.
God, that's terrible.
But, some people on social media talked about this weather, and they said, well, it's the boys' basketball tournament snowstorm. Well, no, because the boys' basketball tournament ends today. And I forget about that because I associate it with hockey playoffs or the hockey tournament. But those that have been, religiously attending the boys' basketball tournament said, no, this is when the bad weather usually arrives. So maybe Mother Nature is just a little bit behind schedule, although all winter she's been way behind.
Well, Jesse Robinson will agree with this one. This is actually Saints baseball coming back from Florida snowstorm. Because it seems like whenever the Saints baseball team is in the city of Duluth, it's snowing or minus 60 over the last decade.
Right. Makes you really want to come back, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. You got a good baseball team, but we're not going to see them this year.
So I think the question is, and you kind of alluded to it because, it hasn't snowed all winter, but, talk to people who don't like snow and they say, good, that's the best part about it. But because we've had next to nothing, are you not going to call Mother Nature a bunch of words we can't say on the radio if this happens Sunday through Tuesday?
Correct. It's like, all right, well, we got to. This is very Minnesotan. We got to pay for the winter that we had, and if that means we get 2 feet of snow in 24 hours, well, that means we moved 2 feet of snow. And remember that in February it was beautiful.
Right. Well, and I still think, and I alluded to it earlier too, that the question is not if it's going to be here; it's for how long. Because I've always said you can have snow from the middle of December to the early portion of January. And it fits in for the season. It's when it hangs out till May that I'm like, okay, let's be done.
Yeah, I'm tapping out. No, I think you're right. I mean, it's not going to be. I mean, it's not going to go to minus 100, right? So it's supposed to stay in that 20s and whatnot. So, but if it's the sunny out, it's going to be nice out. I just hope it doesn't. like they talked on, so DIO last night, the guy was really good explaining why the snow might be on top of the hill,
Right.
18 inches, but downtown might get 3 because
Which living in Lakeside, I'll take that.
Well, but he said this is the first time that I've ever really seen a snowstorm in the spring like that with the lake being open. So a lot of this stuff is guessing, right? Which I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, down here it'll be a smattering of snow, and then we can call our friends up in Hermantown and say, so how many inches again?
Which is okay too.
You can walk down to my house and get out of the snow.
Right. Here's the question that I have too, because snow enthusiasts have been begging for this.
Yeah.
We're late enough in the calendar that are you still, or are you like, well, even for me, I've given up?
I think it's the same thing. I think that if I was a downhill skier and I saw 20 inches of snow coming finally, I would say the word finally and still want to take advantage of it because that's what I like to do in the winter, and the winter gave me a weekend.
Right. So do you think this weather forecast could be divisive because a big part of our show in the early goings today is going to be about division?
It could be. Yeah, but you're right. There's going to be a division of how people take the winter and, frankly, all seasons long. Because you tell me it's 100 degrees, I'm going to be like, well, here's a division for you, Brian.
But again, if winter lasts from March 24th to March 27th, sign me up.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There's where I fall with the whole equation altogether. One place where there's no divide is our great sponsors. They support us. They do a great job of it.
They do. We are very fortunate that we have the sponsors that we do for sure. Mountain Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai, Comfort Systems, Arola Architecture Studio, Hoops Brewing, OAR Holdings, Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer, Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, and the Blackwoods Group, including their locations at Tavern on the Hill, Blackwater, in Two Harbors, in Proctor, and the location on London Road.
How many of those did you go to this week?
2.
Really?
Just 2 this week.
Just 2. Mm-hmm. 2 is pretty good. I hit 1.
The Two Harbors one is different. Like because it's on the corner and it looks like a warehouse kind of when you're driving by it. But once you go into it, you kind of know where you're at, right? It's got the same feeling.
Absolutely. And then as far as the Blackwoods Easter dinner, we'd put a deadline on it of yesterday for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And Cullen Flaherty and I have been very good friends for a very long time. I don't know if he did this specifically for us, but the way he phrased it to me on the phone sounded like he did. He said, tell your listeners they've got till Tuesday.
Put it out there for the snowstorm. No, seriously, it's that little bit of an extension. You know, we're starting to get close to Easter, right? And so you can start to feel the pressure ramping up a little bit.
Right.
Like Avery called yesterday and she goes, I'm not really sure I'm going to come for Easter. And you could just kind of feel the tension in the air change a little bit. Easter's coming. And if you're kind of in that situation where you're saying, gosh, Easter's coming, well, take that piece off your plate, right? No pun intended.
Right.
Take
Let Blackwoods take care of it.
Thank you.
Family meal for 6 for $165. It's a pretty good deal.
No, it's fantastic. And like I said, if your focus is on family and this takes an hour to 5 hours of food prep off your plate,
right,
take the swing.
So make the order, do it via email. I think that's the easiest way, Easter@blackwoods.com. The other thing, though, too, is we talk about the event center in Proctor, and it's very, very nice.
That's great.
In Duluth, I feel like the Blackwoods Event Center is also known as Graceland Ballroom. They do a brunch on Easter, too. If you want to do that, I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, and that's the thing about our sponsors in general, but specifically this week is how community focused they are. Like they're not doing it for free, I get it, but they have these opportunities and options for families that, you know, maybe they don't want to spend any time in the house. Maybe like Dana in our old house, that was just too small for people, especially too small for people if we were going to have the whole kitchen.
I was going to say that's my house now.
Right. And so
there's a reason we do dinner in the living room every night.
Right. You can enjoy your home and enjoy your family without having to absolutely fill it to the screws with plates.
Speaking of plates, good segue as well. Plated ham dinner available at all the Blackwoods locations for Easter as well. Runs about $18. You can do it on site or online. So Easter options in Blackwoods, they're synonymous right now.
Yeah, they do a really nice job of planning your meals for you. So just enjoy your family and quit screwing around with this part when you can get it for cheaper at Blackwoods.
Absolutely. Don't have your family divided for the holidays. But speaking of division, we're going to have some fun with the divisions that our favorite pro teams are in this week. Obviously, they're in the division for longer, but we're going to have fun with it this week.
Okay, I didn't.
Well, as I said it, I was like, "Wait a minute,
was pretty good."
I don't think we're realigning things in a week.
Yes, no. This is a really interesting supposition,
right?
Because if you had the opportunity to pluck a player from a team in your division, regardless of sport, which we're going to go with sport by sport, who would it be? Because we talk about that at the water cooler, right? We talk about that. Oh,
wish we had this guy.
Wish I had that guy.
Right.
Here we go.
So this is the fun spin because, like you said, we always look at the rest of our division and say, you know, where are we? What are they doing? What do we wish we had that they do, or vice versa? And we've played with divisions before. We've put hypotheticals out there. We've said, what if Minnesota didn't exist and your fandom had to stay within the division? Where would you go? That's part of what teaches you, I think, some of the answers for this. If you have a fandom of somebody, you're like, well, imagine if they had a Minnesota uniform on, I'd be pretty thrilled.
Yeah, and I can tell you the first guy for the football team was Aaron Jones. But then you told me Aaron Jones happened.
I was going to say, ask and you shall receive.
I'm checking out.
Right.
No, seriously.
So we're starting with football.
So we are starting with football. And we're going to split it offense and defense because it's really hard.
I was going to say, it's the one sport that legitimately has different players playing the side of the ball.
So you want to go offense or defense first?
You can be Will Steger. Lead the expedition.
All right. So I'm going to go defense first because you might not appreciate this one.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't appreciate my own choice because I told you before the show, I can't believe what I'm taking, but it fits.
Yeah, but yours probably a better fit than mine, although mine's a greater need. And I'm going to go with Lucas Van Ness.
Wow.
Defensive end, kind of your heavy 270-pound defensive end. And in our defensive coordinator's defense, he could be a killer. Like, he could be crazy in that defense. Well, and we don't have anybody in that role.
That's a little bit more of a deeper dive. And I'm glad you did that because we were talking about this before the show, too. It'd be really easy to say, well, what's this team's best player? Bring them over here and we're different. Well, make sure that that's a position your team needs as well. Because, for millions of years, it felt like we could have taken Green Bay's quarterback. For a couple of years, we did, let's be honest, and say, look how good we could be. But people talk about, well, the Vikings missed out on a chance to draft Aaron Rodgers because so many teams also missed out on said chance. Well, how many of those teams had the quarterback position answered at that time?
Right, absolutely. I want to hear yours because
you want to hear me say it.
Well, not just that. It is. So if you don't know this one yet, take a deep breath. Think about who the perfect fit is, and Brian's about to tell
and
you.
I can't stand everything about him. I would just hope that he would be A.J. Przynski of football.
My defensive player of the year pre-guest for
you've
3 of the
said
last 4 years.
Every year, and I've eye-rolled and gone, I can't stand this guy. His antics drive me nuts. His interviews drive me nuts. Sometimes his performance drives me nuts. But again, I have to hope that this would be A.J. Przynski of football. He's not on your team. He's the ultimate thorn in your side. He is, and thank goodness you have him. And that person is Jair Alexander. Give me a good corner on the Vikings.
This is how we started the conversation. And Brian said, what do you think? And I said, it's Jair Alexander. He goes, I got that one already. Start thinking again.
Right. But I said, I can't believe I'm going to say this because I cannot stand him. But it would fix, to me, one of the, if not the largest need on this team. A veteran corner who can play.
Well, and is mouthy and he'll bring a little cocky attitude to the background and he'll drive other players crazy, but he'll also force them to be better. Like, there's nothing about Jair Alexander that I wouldn't love on this team.
Or you'll get what happened in the past month of the last NFL season with Jair, where he's just talking and he's not playing and he's saying stupid things and he's doing stupid things. Minnesota sports luck tells me you'd get that version of him as well.
He'd have a coordinator he respected. The guy in Green Bay last year.
I hope. Well, again, this is our version of fantasy football. These are things that are not happening.
But let's be honest. My take on Jair Alexander wasn't as funny as our offensive one. Now, before we...
Well, you guessed mine right away.
Right, because it's dumbly the easy. It's easier than Alexander.
It's low-ish. It's not low-hanging fruit, but it's low-ish.
All right, so before we say who yours is, because I think that one's great, I want everybody to take a breath and think about that. Who would be somebody from the NFC Central that you would like on your football team?
Well, first of all, it'd be the North, because the Central...
I'm older than you are.
Well, yes, but the Central existed when I was a football fan, too. If we could play that game, give me Warren Sapp next to John Randall in the 90s.
All right, here we go. So mine, because yours is the one that we both agree on, mine is a slot receiver who could make our receiver back to the 3D group, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Well, and I like this, but I think you're playing fantasy football because it's like you're going to take the best wide receiver they have and throw him in a trio on our team.
He's not just the best receiver. I like him for a couple things. First of all, he would be slot dominant.
Right.
Second of all, he's tougher than nails. I love watching him play. So it's not just that he's a great receiver. It's the other stuff that he brings.
Right.
Like him and Jefferson breaking opposite directions. What do you do?
No, I love it. I just rolled my eyes at it, and then we talked about 98, and I said, well, wait a minute. They've done this before. We could do it again.
They have, and they could. Yep. But it's Aaron Jones, but he's here already, so now I get to pick my second favorite. But yours is right, because we both laughed. This is the one we guessed.
Well, mine did #one of us. I take the Minnesota Wild route to this and say, hey, this guy's from Minnesota. We got to have him. I'll tell you what. I cheered like crazy at the AA state tournament for Chanhassen. I would be cheering for Chanhassen High School again because Frank Ragnow would be our new center. And maybe you teach Garrett Bradbury to play a really bad version of guard.
Actually, Bradbury might be really good at guard because he only has to worry
Love
about
to
one
find
side.
out because at center he's okay at best.
Ragnow is, of all the positions and teams and the Wild and all the other stuff that we're going to do, the easiest fit is Ragnow and the Vikings.
No doubt. It's one of those where, how did this not happen already? The other thing I wanted to do defensively was take Brian Branch because I can't stand Jair Alexander. And then I stopped and went, what parallel universe am I in that I'm plucking Lions left and right?
Well, and my first thought was Xavier McKinney, who is a Giant, who's now a Packer. Like,
right.
Neither of those teams I like, but boy, would he look good in the second.
Well, and the Chicago Bears are rumored to be this up-and-coming team of the future because of their draft capital. Did anybody consider any Bears players?
Sure. I thought Swift would be really good, but now that he's back in the thing, but we have the guy I wanted. So how do you say I'll take Swift, but I'd rather have Aaron Jones?
Well, now tell the masses what you said right away. Can I say Caleb Williams? Which I don't agree with. We'll see which one of this quarterback class is boom or bust. I just think Caleb is a hype machine. We'll see.
I think Caleb Williams is legit. He only scares me because of the weird stuff he does off the field.
Right.
I think his quarterbacking skills are good.
Does that combine with where he's going?
That's my fear.
Because overall, quarterbacks go to Chicago to die.
Yes.
Are we sure that Caleb Williams is going to become anything?
That's my fear, is that little bit of knucklehead off the field component that you bring with him and the way they've developed quarterbacks forever, I don't know.
All right, here's the thing. We got 12 minutes to do 3 other sports.
Piece of cake.
And I know we could talk football for hours and hours. And newsflash, PA's coming at 11:05, so this may come up again.
Who do you want to go with? Well, but you pick the division finally.
All right, let's do some baseball because baseball, a week from today, Justin Morneau will be on the show, which is awesome. And the Twins will have played a game already.
You and I have not talked about baseball. So I'm going to go with the offensive player. You can go with the pitcher. Are they? How's that sound?
I thought we were doing one of each, but okay.
Well, no, that's what I meant.
Okay.
I'll start with the one,
Okay.
you start with the other.
Okay.
My offensive player, the Minnesota Twins need to pick up yesterday, is the center fielder for the Chicago White Sox, Louis Robert Jr.
So we could
He's
take-
a right-handed outfielder. You move Max to wherever you want to move him. You plunk him there, over.
That's a great pick because basically what you're doing, and again, I want to roll my eyes because I'm going, you're just taking their best player, arguably, and putting him on our team. That's the easy way to do this. But it makes so much sense because you're taking what Byron Buxton is supposed to be and putting him on our team.
Yeah, not as talented Byron Buxton. Better. I didn't say. I
was gonna say, is he not as talented?
No,
I'm
he's
not sure.
as talented.
I'm not sure that's true.
Potential is a terrible word.
Right.
Byron's talent potential is still
Potential
off
is
the
what
chart.
people say when what's in front of you isn't very good.
Correct. So I would take Louis Roberts and I would put him in right field, and I would say our offense is good and our defense now is crazy.
All right.
And
Well,
he's better than Margot. In
as
center.
a
Something
fantasy
happened.
baseball owner that has Mr. Robert as my center fielder, I concur.
All right, who you got?
So my pitcher is Shane Bieber.
See, I chickened out of that because I figured that's where you're going.
And I
Oh,
sat
sure. Just pick the best pitcher off what
but I sat on a couple of Cleveland pitchers because I kind of thought McKenzie would be the more fun one. But I look at the situation now for the Twins with the injuries that are kind of riddling the pitching staff early, and we're probably looking at Louis Varland at number 5. I would prefer a veteran somewhere. Blake Snell is off the market. Michael Lorenzen is off the market. Plug in the veteran. Shane Bieber's that guy.
So I looked at that, and then I looked at the flip side of that and what we would do for a younger, talented pitcher, and I went with the guy I can't pronounce in Detroit.
That doesn't narrow it down for me. Tariq Skubal.
Yes, Tariq Skubal. Because Skubal has all the potential in the world, and if he hits it, like in our pitching department seems to be able to help guys get to that next step. Like, I know nobody knows a lot about him. He's pretty good. And if we can get him to that next level, then he's
Right.
1A with.
Well, and those were the guys that I just stared at going, that's who I should want if I'm building a keeper league or a dynasty team, because you could take him, you could take Mize, and you could say, these types of pitchers are what you need. But I think the Twins are pretty happy with their own young pitchers, with Bailey Ober, potentially with Varland, what have you. And Ryan is not an old guy. Let's not forget that. So I'm plugging a veteran into this team now, and that's why I took Bieber. If Dylan Cease wouldn't have been traded a week and a half ago, I would have plugged him in.
I almost said Kenta because but listen, he's far enough away from the arm injury that his velocity is probably going to be back up.
Well, he's the perfect fit because he's inexpensive. He's relatively good until it becomes backyard baseball and everything's leaving the yard.
That's true, but when his velocity was good a couple years ago,
Right.
he was dominant.
All right, positionally, what are you doing? Because this is more fun because this Twins lineup, although full of what ifs, is still pretty good around the diamond. So there's not a position where you're going, we need somebody else there.
Yeah.
But there are some nice plug and play here.
Yeah, no, and for me, the position that is...
Well, you took Robert already. You got to go with my position guy. For me, it was catcher. And again, I'm going with grizzled veterans here. Give me Salvador Perez, please. Only because I've wanted him probably every year he's been in the league.
Right.
I mean, this is if you can't beat him, join him kind of thing. And talk about another veteran presence with a bunch of young kids. You look at what Carlos Correa does, even when he's not great. To me, that's Salvador Perez in the twilight of his career.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The problem is the biggest hole's first base.
Right.
Right? And I don't think there's a first baseman worth taking that shot at from another team. We talked about Bo Naylor. Wouldn't that be great? Well,
and I said, how about Josh? He technically does play more first base, but you could.
Though the guy I would have said a few years ago is the guy we have now in Santana.
Carlos Santana, yeah.
So, I mean, first base was one I was trying to figure out, but there's nobody at first
And then we
base
played hypotheticals. You said, well, can we move Carlos Correa to first base? And I said, if we do, Bobby Witt Jr. is on my team till the end of time.
That's taking the best player in the league.
Well, and the other thing I would have done is I would have said, well, let's see if Royce can go play first, and I'd go put Ramirez at third base from Cleveland.
Yeah, that would also
I mean,
be
that's
good.
taking the best player probably in the division.
Take the risk and put Tim Anderson at first. He can't
Is he
throw.
still just available? I know he's not with the White Sox. Is he with
I
anybody?
think he signed with somebody, but for like $8 in meal money.
Somebody Google that. Who's listening out there? We'll wait for text from Topher Davis.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right. So that was fun because baseball, I think, is, I don't know if it's the more individual sport. I think it is in terms of numbers, of course, but what kind of impact are you looking to make? It's not take the best player and put him in. It's take the best fit and put him in, because missing pieces aren't so grandiose like they are in football.
Oh, I agree. Otherwise, again, Bobby Witt, right? He's the guy.
So the NBA is fun because this is the best Timberwolves season maybe ever.
And we haven't talked about this at all.
We did, but we talked about, this is where we talked about don't just take the best player out there and plug him in because it would be a joke if you don't take the Joker and put him in. But interior-wise, big man-wise, what kind of need do you have? And the other thing that you needed reassurance of is who's in the Timberwolves division?
That's true.
Because everybody looks at the conference standings.
Desmond Bane if he's in our, but he's not.
But he's not because you're looking at, this is the crazy part. The Wolves are tremendous. They're in third in the conference and they're in third in their division because it's OKC, it's Denver, it's Minnesota, and then, oh, by the way, Utah and Portland are in there too.
Yep, and yet my player plays for the Jazz.
Wow.
So I would like to go and get Jordan Clarkson. Just throw him in a box, bring him.
Because he's been rumored to come here for a decade already.
But he would be a perfect fit right in the middle of all that, right? You got a jack of all trades who can score a little bit, can defend a little bit, been around long enough to motivate a little bit. Like he would be my only issue with him is 6'3". I mean, I'd love for him to be 6'6", but he's the guy.
Okay, so you're going to eye roll me. I struggled between two who both play for Denver. Do you want to do any guesses?
It's Michael Porter Jr.
Nope.
No, okay. Then I don't know.
All right, so the first one is Jamal Murray, and that's the eye roll of you're taking the best player and you're plugging him on our team. But my reason for it would be this. We've begged for a legitimate backup to Mike Conley to be the missing piece this season. In no way, shape, or form am I putting Jamal Murray behind Mike Conley. All I'm doing is shifting it, saying Mike Conley becomes point guard number 2, and you are absolutely set.
Isn't
Jamal Murray... Colin Sexton's in Utah,
Yeah, he could play point guard.
He could. What's your biggest memory of Colin Sexton?
Beating the Gophers.
I was going to say, I want to find out what kind of Gopher fan you are. We hang out too much. Because the Gophers did win that game, but barely in 5-on-4 at the end. Colin Sexton was the reason it was close.
Yep.
So I took Jamal Murray as my answer. My other answer would have been Gordon from Denver because he's just loopy. And we've talked about, Pat Bev would be the edge guy. And I go, yeah, okay, he would, but can he really do anything? Timberwolves need a little bit of edge to him, and I think Gordon would be that guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Though the guy who crossed the brain first and then got crossed off right away was Markkanen, because originally at Timberwolves.
Because we should have had him, yeah.
Right, and fits kind of what they needed 5 years ago, but you forget you've got the scoring, the number 1 guy, and the 3-4. They're all kind of filled now. I mean, he wouldn't. This sounds terrible, but he would be part of the rotation.
Right.
He would not be in the starting lineup.
Well, the other up-and-coming team in this division and probably in the league this year, besides the Wolves, a team that's ahead of them, it's OKC. You could take Shea and you could say, put him and Ant next to each other and watch them go off. My problem is there's only one ball. I'm not sure how that would go.
It would be their point guard guy. Is the guy
fun, yeah, I agree with you. But the fun one of us story would be Chet Holmgren. But what do you do with him when arguably your three biggest weapons, not named Edwards, are Cat, Rudy, and Nas? What do you do?
And you got to throw the fact that they love McDaniel at that other spot. But the point guard for OKC, I forgot about him until you started talking about him. The kid from Australia, who is a 10-10 or 10-3 and 10 guy.
I was going to say he's kind of Jason Kidd-like,
Yeah.
where he's a point guard, but he's not built like one and doesn't play like one.
I would like to rescind my Jordan Clarkson
Right?
and put him in there.
Well, and Jordan Clarkson, that's kind of the Roger Dorn of the NBA for the Timberwolves, because the Roger Dorn line in Major League is, wish we had him 2 years ago. We did, 4 years ago then. Now, I know Clarkson hasn't been here before, but how many times has Timberwolves Fitz and Jordan Clarkson been in the same sentence?
Yeah, 100% right. And I'm glad you didn't say Bones Highland. Very nice.
No, because that's been rumored enough too.
Right,
Every time I saw
exactly.
that, this deadline, it was out there again, and I went, no, just forget about it, move on.
So the NHL for us was kind of fun because it took us 10 seconds.
I was dumb. I just said, okay, I'm going to play fantasy hockey. This team needs more scoring. This team needs a star, and Nathan McKinnon's in your division. Go.
And I used the same idea. We need a center, we need scoring, but I didn't go with star. I went, of course, gopher, but I also went with a guy who has all the potential in the world, and that's Logan Cooley.
It's not a bad one. Please tell everybody what you said you were going to say, just to kind of take the temperature of our listening audience, because I laughed at it at first, and then I'm sitting there going, well, let's see. Spurgeon's played like 20 games this year. Brodeen's hurt. They have Faber and Blach on the blue line. You were going to say, just to see if anybody was listening.
Yeah, I think I want to bring somebody from Arizona back.
You do? Back? See, that's not what you said before the show.
What did I say?
You brought up Ryan Suter.
Yeah, I did. I said if we could bring one guy back who would just irritate everybody, including me, should we bring Ryan Suter back? Does Parisi play in our division?
And short answer to all of that is no.
Yeah. So it'd be Cooley because I think that he would be your number one center and you wouldn't have to pay him $1 bajillion and legitimately could be an all-star, and Arizona's not going to miss him. They're bad anyway.
Right. So in a society that is divided on just about everything, we decided to take the word division and bring us together. This was kind of fun.
This was good. We could do this a lot longer at like an in-house event someday, Brian.
Well, and that may be on the calendar just ahead. There's only about 60 seconds till we go to Dave Hoops. Let's close with this. We talked about who we'd want from each division. Let's take each sport, and we can include Minnesota in this answer. The best team in the division is, go ahead, league by league.
Oh, gosh. Colorado is easy. The basketball one, it's...
You stay in Colorado. I do.
Yeah, I think I'd go OKC. I'd take OKC in a 7. In baseball, God, the Twins are the best team in the division.
They are. And Detroit.
Yeah, it's Detroit now. You got to prove it's not.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
For me, it's Avs, Nuggets, Twins. It's the Lions. What world is this?
Yeah, exactly correct.
Meanwhile, Christina Aguilera, who knew, says it best. We want these players from our division foes to join us. Come on over, baby. We go over to Dave Hoops next. Stick around. We will be right back. One of those songs that I could let roll for a while, and to know what it is, you might have to. It's George Thorogood's One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer. Tell you what, if I was looking for the third one of those, I know where I'd go. One of our illustrious sponsors.
Absolutely. But let's start with OAR Holdings. Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer. Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing. The Blackwoods Group, including locations on London Road, in Proctor and Into Harbors. Blackwater downtown and Tavern on the Hill. Well, frankly, up on the hill. Mount Royal Bottle Shop. Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies. Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai. Comfort Systems. Arola Architecture Studio. And Hoops Brewing.
Hoops Brewing, a place that I hope to get to very soon. It seems like everybody is going there for good reason over the last several years. And speaking of several years, Dave Hoops, I want to start with that because a very good piece has been circulating social media about you and kind of the history of you and history of Hoops Brewing when it comes to great beer. The folks at Voyager did a great article. That was fun to read. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Nice to hear from you guys or talk with you. I've got to give credit to my friend Brian over at Blacklist because he turned them on to me, and then they kind of made it easy. I try not to get too involved with my own press, but it's nice to hear good things.
Speaking of good things, this is the time of great things in sports, to be honest with you, because high school boys basketball tournament wraps up today. Go Tigers is in Cherry. They are phenomenal to watch. You talked about the NCAA tournament. That's been a lot of fun to watch. Gophers are still playing, albeit in the 3-letter tournament, but it's fun to have them to care about tomorrow as well. Selection show for hockey's tomorrow at the college level. Pro sports are either looming when it comes to baseball or playoff stretch for the NBA, the NHL, and when you look at football, it's off-season news galore. I know we said this last week, but this is why it's March Madness. It's still March, and sports is proving it.
Yeah, and the most ridiculous rumor out there, I'm sure you've heard about it, my man Herbert being our quarterback. It's just silly, but it's fun. Why not?
It's also on Harbaugh, because Harbaugh did come out and say publicly that the single best player in this draft is J.J. McCarthy. Well, if you think that, money where mouth is, I'll trade for Herbert.
Right. And I don't mind the concept, but here's the part of the concept that I would say, well, are you sure you want to do this? You just parted with a massive contract at quarterback to start to fix other areas of concern. You acquire Herbert, you have a great quarterback, you have a massive contract again.
Well, and let's take it a step further. What part of Kirk's contract was not good? He never put the team, he never brought the W. They never won because of Kirk, right? He never made that one big throw. Well, guess who else has?
I was going to say, who's been known for that in the early stages of his career? Justin Herbert.
Right.
And a little bit of Josh Allen as well, but I digress. So, Dave Hoops, let's just circle back to all the things I talked about. What has the most attention of you right now? Is it the NCAA tournament? Is it hockey selection show tomorrow? What are you pining for?
NFL draft.
Well, it's 100% NCAA's. It's one of my kind of top 5 favorite things. But I typically tune in for as much as I can. But I am very interested in this wild trying to catch Vegas thing a little bit. I have my own personal opinions, but that's made it fun to watch. And of course, I'm still watching tennis. Not a popular thing to say, but I am.
It is for me, and you know that.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on. Baseball is going to be really interesting because the Twins on paper look like they could be really, really good. And then you read I guess we can still call it, spring training injury list, and some key players for the Twins are already on there. What's your concern level there? Because it started earlier this week when Byron Buxton got scratched for the back issue, and we all kind of went, well, here we go. Well, it was kind of a here we go, David. It wasn't about Buxton. It was about everybody else.
I don't have any concern. I'm like you, a real fan. I can't wait. I'm going to attend a lot of games, and I'm already thinking about maybe this year we can do better in the playoffs. It's I'm a true optimist fan, so I'm not a great pick it apart fan. So I'm excited.
I will say the Twins is probably the only team that I fall into that shell as well. I kind of go, well, if you're going to be injured now versus late August, and who's to say they won't be injured both of those time periods, but was a little alarming earlier this week.
Yeah, no doubt. And I have taken the mantle as some of the greatest pessimists out there. And I see the one injury, and I look at Paddock, and I say, man, you're a breakdown ready to happen. And I'm worried about the depth of the pitching, like as of today. And I see Jordan Montgomery out there, who is still going to be expensive, but they didn't lose all their TV money. Let's bring in that guy, could we?
Let's bring in somebody, because I don't know that Louis Varland at 5 is the answer. My question is, not looking at the schedule, how long can you go without needing 5?
Right, and when does Simeon Woods Richardson hit? Right, but he's the next guy, isn't he?
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit to Dave Hoops about hoops. I haven't asked anybody this 3-word question yet, but how's your bracket? Now, I know you and I are in a pool together, so I could actually answer that question on my own, but just aside from who you picked and what kind of monetary gains might be available for you, who do you like as you watch them so far in this early goings of the tournament?
Well, my bracket's fine. Just like every single year that UConn is in the tournament, I pick them to win, which means I've done really well over the last 20 years.
Yes.
So nothing's changed for this year. Now, there's some really, really the SEC falling apart is entertaining. I really like Kentucky, so that's a bit of a bummer, but you got to like how Oakland beat them. Today's games, I'm really excited about the Oregon-Creighton game because I have Creighton going a long way. And almost nobody has, besides my daughter, has Oregon winning at all, right? I think that's a much better team than people realize. James Madison winning yesterday is really fun. I'd like to see them hammer on Duke. That would be awesome. What else? I think probably the most impressive win. So I think that I really can't believe Kansas won. I was going to say the most impressive.
I told Dave this morning, I said
win.
The officials made sure Kansas won. That was a little disappointing.
Right. That should be a really good game, though. Gonzaga, Kansas.
Yeah, I was going to say
there's a lot of
that's
really
the blue
fun.
blood everybody wanted. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. But I think NC State's run is over, and I think Oakland will make the Sweet 16s, which is going to be a really fun story to talk about, even though this kid, how many three-pointers can he hit? Well, we'll see.
I was going to say, a Division II transfer hits 10 threes. That becomes a story right away with good reason. I want to switch to hockey. The selections will be made tomorrow. We've poked fun at the gentleman across the table from me, Mr. Gopher fan himself, Dave Cook, because recency bias, the Gophers have underachieved a bit, but it looks like, until it's official tomorrow, but it looks like as you take a 10,000-foot view of it, that the Minnesota Gophers might be the only Minnesota team in the NCAA tournament tomorrow in hockey, and that's been pretty rare the last half decade to a full decade.
Yeah, so what? Okay, I mean, Spihar's all over X, screaming about Michigan, and I'm not ever going to say anything bad about him, but okay, we already wrote the book. We are the state of hockey. It's fine. Everybody can talk about this, and unfortunately, it's going to be the Gophers. Sorry, Dave, but whatever. This year the Eastern schools, I'm watching them way more. I have to be honest, and I've got guys I really care about, like on Boston College and stuff. So I'm not that worked up about it. If UMD's not in it, then if the other Minnesota teams don't make it, fine.
I'm kind of the same ilk there with you as well. Dave Cook, you're struggling with this part of it, and you think you make fun of me for loving Boston now. Wait until it comes down to BU and BC at the end.
God, you guys. I don't have anything more to say. So because it's the Gophers, screw the West. We're going to go cheer for Northeastern and everybody else because Minnesota and Omaha really doesn't exist, so heck with it.
I was going to say the difficult part might be finding somebody in the West to really root for. I won't disregard it, but, do I like Omaha because Jake Randolph used to play there and Kevin Oswald lives out there? I don't have a reason to love North Dakota. I don't think I can bring myself to do it. The Gophers, I'll just kind of shrug. If they win, they probably should. If they don't, okay. Denver wins a lot. I'm tired of it. It may be one of those things, and this happens a lot in college basketball, let's be honest. If you don't fill out a bracket, you probably don't follow. I think if I don't fill out a bracket, I may kind of disregard the NCAA hockey tournament. Hopefully nobody gets after me for it, but, Topher Davis exists, so I'll probably fill out a bracket as well.
You guys. I can't.
All right, Gopher fan, give us your moment. How pumped are you for tomorrow?
Oh, I expect them to be there. But
they'll be there, but do they have a shot after that?
No, I don't think they do. I would love to say yes, but they're not the same team they were last year. Last year's team should have won the whole thing.
Right.
But I do think it's funny because you and I have sat here, and if the Gophers are the 16 seed and UMD is the 2 or 3 like they've been over the last decade, it's, I can't believe you're not cheering for UMD. It's the Minnesota team that's left, right? So no Minnesota teams except the Gophers, and you guys are automatically in the Eastern time zone. It's just kind of like, you guys kill me.
Fair enough.
It's going to be great, you guys. And obviously, I'll probably have my bracket in first with Topher. I did just fine last year, and I'm already pretty much sure who I'm going to pick. But I do have to pay attention to Wisconsin for just one more season, and then I'll shut up about that.
That's fair.
They're on my radar.
That's fair. You do have to do that. Now, Justin May just texted me and said, well, if you want to talk about brackets in first, you should be talking to him right now because he's won our NCAA basketball pool before, and I think he's in a tie for first as we speak. I have an answer for Justin that I won't share on the radio, but I might text him later. But Dave Hoops, you've been answering questions very well from me so far. Now you get the honor that you do every week of answering questions from Dave Cook.
I'm pretty easy, I think, this week.
Okay.
That was the intention.
You said that so fast, I thought you said I'm per easy this week. And I thought, okay, that's twice you've worked him into the first half an hour.
So I heard this question asked the other day, and I wanted to run it past you guys because I think it's actually a great question. We've talked over the past 2 years incessantly about Kirk Cousins, right?
Right.
And of the good and of the bad.
You think that'll stop this year now that he's gone out of sight, out of mind? Or do you think we'll be compared every week?
It'll start the following.
Right.
So we've talked often about the check down pass, right? And we've talked about this bad play and that bad play. But guys, what's your favorite Kirk Cousins memory as a Viking?
Well, there's one easy one, but I'll think a while. Go ahead, Dave Hoops.
I'll start to give you guys time to take a breath. It's the first big pass I saw him complete against Green Bay. Thielen on the goal line. It was like 4th and whatever, and he blew a laser between 2 Green Bay defenders into Thielen's hands for the first down, ready to I think that's the game where Daniel Carlson lost his job. But it was just a fantastic throw, and it was like, okay, we went from what are we going to do at quarterback to, hey, we have an NFL quarterback.
Right. That's a good one. I have two, actually, but Dave Hoops, go ahead.
Well, mine's a little different, but I love the question. It was when he signed, and then game one, I'm on board. I'm always on board. My wife not on board, just hammering him for the first 3 or 4 games, and then I kept sticking up for him. Every time he did something good, I was happy about it because hey, he's our quarterback. But then I guess my favorite memory is sticking up for him over the first 2, 3, 4 years where. Brian, you did.
I was going to say, that'll be my memory for every week of his career here, but go ahead.
Yeah, and my memory was having a decent quarterback that was serviceable, that was all right, and then I kind of like it when he came out of his shell and became a little bit more liked in Minnesota, and in general, just the whole journey. Yeah, he's not going to win us a Super Bowl. I know this now, but I'll look for the next guy to do so. All
right, so I'm going to give you 2 Kirk plays. And one of them is really easy. The second one, you might laugh because it's kind of personal. So the first one was the one playoff win that Kirk got here. The narrative was they're on the road, they're in overtime, he chokes under pressure, there's no way they get this done. It's not even the pass to Rudolph that actually wins it. It's the bomb to Thielen that, even as a Viking fan, I went, oh my gosh, how are they going to screw this up? It almost looks like they can't. And they didn't. But it was, Kirk in the clutch. That'll shut people up at least for a week. They got pounded by San Francisco, and that was that.
That was my second choice.
My second choice is this. So I've said a lot of things on this show over almost 7 years that can certainly be, looked back on and say, well, you were wrong there, and I'll own up to that. I've been wrong about a lot of things. One of the things I said, and I said this in your establishment on a show at Hoops, Dave, I said, I think Kirk is more mobile than people give him credit for. And it's a good thing that Duluth doesn't do a preposterous statement tournament, or I might have won. Because Kirk is a statue. So the play goes like this. It was during the 13-win season 2 years ago now, 2 seasons ago. And Kirk gets out of the pocket against Arizona, and he's going to turn the corner and pick up a first down on like 3rd and 4. And we're going, oh my gosh, 3rd and 4, and he ran for 5. When does he do that? Running for 5 wasn't enough. I think he ended up with a 12-yard touchdown run at home against the Cardinals, and it was Kirk Cousins rushing touchdown. I think I texted in all caps the word mobile to anybody who would listen to me.
I talked to a buddy of mine, Dave, about this exact question, and he made a really good point. It was the Denver game where Diggs went off on him about throwing the football. We were down, 22-6 or something?
Right, and they came all the way back.
And he went crazy. You could just see him, spiking the football in front of Diggs like, okay, you want a quarterback? There you go.
I'll tell you what, I'm so glad you went with that side of the coin because we could have done what was your favorite negative memory of Kirk and gone on and on and on, or we could have taken calls because Kirk haters are just waiting to tell us more about that.
Yep, even if you don't like Kirk, he had his moments, and I wanted to hear what your favorites were.
All right,
so now we're going to go old school.
You have one left? Okay, go ahead.
This is it. All right, so we were watching videos, Aaron and I, the other day. We were watching music videos.
Okay.
So I wanted to know, gentlemen, what's your favorite music video? It can be favorites for 100 different reasons.
I was going to say iconic versus favorite. That's the hard part. But Dave Hoops, you're the music guru among us with the vinyl night back on Thursday, so you get the honor going first.
Well, that's fun. You've got to give Dire Straits a little bit of credit. You got to give Aha, Take on Me, and all that stuff. But honestly, I really that's low hanging fruit. But this is going to be silly. But I like Loverboy. Working for the Weeknd video, it was resonated with my life at that time, and I just really got into it. And I didn't have the hair for it, but that was my old school video. There you go.
All right, so mine is going to be a Prince song. No shock there. And I was very young when this came out, so impressionable for different reasons. But for me, it's probably Bat Dance by Prince because I really liked Batman in general back then. Of course, the Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton version is still the best for me. And to have Prince doing the song and basically looking like the Joker during the video, you couldn't get cooler than that. Now, I know they're a lot more iconic. Pick a Michael Jackson video and you'd be right. But my personal favorite was that one.
Yeah, there's 3 that I was looking at. One is Legs from ZZ Top because the story is so good, right? The video is really cool. The car is great, and I'm a car guy. Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Because it was just weird to start.
Right.
And so but I know we play the song almost every week, but if you haven't had a chance to go watch the LSD trip that the Safety Dance video is, you should take a moment because that's the one that you got done watching and went, the heck was that I just watched? And that was just kind of fun.
It's interesting that you mentioned music videos because what did we walk by today on our way into the studio? But 3 young girls out in the Holiday Center lobby starting to practice to do a TikTok, and we tried to make sure we didn't get in their way. So now all of a sudden everybody's in a music video of their own. Dave Hoops, I feel like Hoops Brewing's done a little of everything. We're going to see a music video maybe in their future to market some beer.
Well, actually, Ingrid is working on some videos. We're going to ramp up our wedding offerings a little bit. So, yeah. But in the meantime, I've been talking this up a lot, raspberry wheat, peach and pear, more fruit, cherry stout. But we also have a sour stout on right now, spontaneously fermented for all those people out there that really want to taste what true, real 3-year-old sours taste like. We've got some. And then old school Rink Rat, in honor of the selection show today, don't forget about it because it's going to leave soon. It usually gets out of here right around NHL playoffs, and then we bring it back in the fall. So let's go there, as well as I just wanted to mention, Brian, we haven't talked about this either. We've got all these daily stuff things, but don't forget we now have a running club on Thursdays, which has gotten some traction and people like it. And you can just go to Hoops Running Club on Facebook, and the girl that runs it is outstanding, and it's kind of cool.
That is excellent. Now, the other thing you can do is join the running club and relax in the mill room, right? That's been going for a little while now. Your early impressions of your newest creation.
It's outstanding. Aaron has made it his own with our DJ with his now Thursday night, spinning the records back there. And it is really intimate and quiet and kind of mellow. And it's like a whole different world in hoops. I have to give all the credit to my crew like Aaron and Jen and Ingrid who built that thing. And it's really pleasant. I miss the ping pong, but not all that bad. It's great.
There's a lot of great things at Hoops. Number one with a bullet is the beer. Maybe number 1A is the guy who runs it and the staff in general. It's a great place. I've loved it for a lot of years. We're bumping you out with my next 30 years. I certainly hope that Hoops Brewing is along for a 30-year ride with us. It's been fun for all these years so far. Let's do it again next Saturday, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoy the weekend. It is going to be great. And, yeah, come on, snow. Let's bring it. Why not, right?
Wow. Our first
challenging Mother Nature
Our
right
first
there.
vote for the snow. I think it's still 2-1. I think Dave Cook and I are still in the no camp. But, Dave Hoops, you are one of a kind. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you next Saturday.
Thanks, guys.
All right. That's our guy, Dave Hoops of Hoops Brewing. When we come back, we play Buy or Sell. And hour number 2 is all guests all the time. We've got PA. We've got Jim Schwartzbauer of DABA for the border battle in basketball. That's coming up on the 26th, weather permitting. First time I've had to say that this year. And then Vince Glenn. Dave talked about the safety dance. You won't see the video, but you'll hear the jam. It's all ahead on the Northland Sports Page. Stick around. We're always looking for a goodbye here on the Northland Sports Page. We're still a long way from telling you goodbye as we're here until noon. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. It is time for our weekly segment where we play Buy or Sell. If you're new to the game, it goes like this. I'm going to give a statement for each of the 4 major sports leagues, NBA, NHL, MLB, and of course NFL. And if Dave agrees with my statement, he's going to say buy and tell me why. If Dave disagrees, he's going to say sell and tell me why. The interesting quirk in the game is I get a chance to buy or sell, aka agree or disagree with my own statements, and you get to determine the order in which we play.
Yes, I get to do all those things, and you get to agree or disagree with my takes as well.
Yes.
Which
is basically the basis of this show.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right. So,
we had a debate earlier today in the car, and I said I won, and you said that's shocking.
Yeah, imagine.
Which, by the way, we were both wrong on Tim Anderson. You thought he was a White Sox. I thought he was just available. Neither. He's going to be, if Luis Ariz plays second, a double play combo in Miami.
You can't put Tim Anderson in shortstop anymore, can you?
I don't
he's
know.
like Plouffe at shortstop.
But if those two are up the middle and you're supposed to be strong up the middle, the Marlins suck already.
Marlins are bad. All right, so let's speaking of, as long as it's going to start real quick, let's start with Major Leagues.
All right, so Major League Baseball, this somewhat came up already. We talked about it with Dave Hoops with the injuries that were announced to Duran, to DeSclafani, to Buxton with the back thing, what have you. It's early. The Twins are 5 days away from playing a game. If you're going to miss time now, okay, but it's still alarming. So buy or sell that you're in a panic about the Minnesota Twins 5 days out from the season.
Oh, panic is not. That's not the right word. Are the injuries red flaggy? Yeah, because look who's getting injured. Like the Vikings are paper thin. Our pitching staff is paper thin. Our bullpen isn't. Like our bullpen is pretty strong.
Right.
But
you've just covered a reason for my answer, but go ahead.
Yeah. So panic, no. So red flags, sure. little ones, little red flags,
Right.
not big Perkins-sized red flags.
No,
but
I
little
completely agree with you because I put the word panic in there to kind of give you an outlet if you want it. I'll sell that I'm in a panic. I am a little bit concerned that the Twins are kind of like the Vikings, kind of like Minnesota sports teams in general, where they'll present an injury as nothing to worry about. And then it's like Danielle Hunter's tweak all those years ago. Well, this nothing to worry about became season ending. The Duran thing is concerning, but at the same time, I like some of the options they have around him. I'd love to see Brock Stewart get a chance to become a legitimate closer.
Thunderbird, yeah.
You know, Griffin Jacks kind of makes me hold my breath, but maybe a different role could be interesting. I was never sold on who was going to be the fifth starter. Again, I don't know how long they're going to be able to go without needing one, just the way the calendar works out. So it's nothing that has me going, oh my goodness, what are they going to do? This isn't Carlos Correa getting hurt. This isn't Royce Lewis getting hurt. You know, this Alex
Buxton getting
Kirilloff
hurt.
situation still makes me go, who's playing in first and who's playing in left and what are they going to do there? I am intrigued by whatever the starting nine is going to be for the first couple weeks of the season. The only thing that would make me panic a little is I don't know how this division is going to shake out. We already said earlier that the Twins are probably the best team in the division. They play a lot of division games early.
Yeah.
They open in Kansas City. The home opener is against Cleveland. If you're not at full strength, you can't win something in April, but you can lose it. But again, panic is too extreme.
That's very true. Here's my issue. My real concern is we talk about their starting five. And our concern is Louis Varland, right? Because we've seen him as a starter. We've seen him as a bullpen guy. They're two different pitchers, let's be honest. But nobody's talking about Chris Paddock. If he fell apart like a Cupid doll after his first pitch, would you be shocked?
No.
No, that's the thing.
Well, and you can go deeper than that. Nobody's talking about that, but nobody's talking about there's a reason to be concerned about 4 out of the 5 to me.
Yes.
We're already anointing Pablo Lopez as somewhat invincible, and he better be because if he falls off, you're in a world of hurt. Your 2 is probably Joe Ryan.
Probably.
He's very good, but struggles to keep the ball in the ballpark.
Worked on a new pitch this summer. We should.
Your number 3 is either Ober or Paddock, and whoever's not is the 4. Ober, I love. Man crush declared several times. But proven? No. Innings limited? Yes. It's going to be a different world for him. You just talked about you're hoping that Chris Paddock doesn't go, arm shatters
Yeah.
on pitch 1.
Zumaya.
And then you don't know who the fifth starter truly is. So there's concern legitimately up and down this rotation in an area that wasn't a concern seemingly at all last year. They sustained injuries like this early last year, and the beat went on. I don't know how they do it again.
The other thing that's worrying to me, and it's something that I'm going through, right? It's this knee fix, the PT that I'm going through,
Right.
and they said, okay, be careful because once this is good, your
But
hamstring's going to get
physical
hurt.
therapy can never be undersold. I'm saying that because my mother's listening. Go ahead.
But then your hamstring, you gotta be careful of your hamstring. Well, with Buxton, he had the knee thing and the leg thing. Now he's got the lower back thing. Those are often connected, and so just as a heads up, Buxton's going to be dinged up with these soft tissues all year long.
But I'll tell you this, it's getting to be kind of like the boy who cried wolf. You get a Buxton injury update, I shrug my shoulders and go put Margot in there and let's play.
All right, so let's go to the NBA, the National Basketball Association.
All right, so this also somewhat came up earlier. The Minnesota Timberwolves are in 3rd place in the Western Conference. They're also in 3rd place in their own division. The top 2 seeds don't know who they'll play until the play-in tournament is over. Number 3 plays number 6 and so on and so forth. It looks like the Wolves are probably going to finish 3rd. We'll see what happens in the last dozen games. Does finishing in one of those top 2 slots, buy or sell, it means anything to you?
Yeah, I'd like to finish 2nd. I don't think they should finish 1st because I think this team's had a little bit of head case in them, and I think being the number 1 seed might be a bit of a flex for these kids. But the number 2 seed, so there's still something to prove. And then get out of having to play the 6th team right away. I think right now the best team is in Oklahoma City. So if we can avoid them to that point and we get home court advantage, I think that's 2 seeds the one I want.
All right. So earlier in this show, you anointed yourself one of the best pessimists, which is a contradiction in terms, but one of the best pessimists you've ever known.
No, I'm getting there.
Okay. You're aspiring to be
Yes.
one, apparently.
And I have the genetic roots for it.
And I do too, because I'm going to give you the most anxiety-riddled, typical Minnesota sports fan take on this that I possibly can. The goal should be to finish as the top seed. You mentioned number 2 would be nice. I'm going to go even further down and go, I'd just as soon get 3rd. I don't want to drop out of the top 4 and be on the road right away. But here's the crazy thing. So you look at the play-in situation right now, and you could be looking at a Golden State or an LA Lakers in round 1 if you're 1 or 2. As a Minnesota team that has done nothing historically for basically 20 years, I don't want anything to do with Steph Curry, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, insert name here. Stay away from me. I'm not saying that the Timberwolves versus the Suns is a terrific matchup either. You do a great job of looking at the bigger picture and how long can you avoid the top two teams. I'm not even looking at coming out of the West. I'm looking at, are they going to get past the first round? I'm a Minnesota sports fan. I don't understand what that means.
See, I'm a little afraid of Golden State because Steph can go.
Yes.
But the Lakers, if we're healthy.
But the league will make sure.
If we're healthy,
the league will make sure.
We match up with the Lakers really, really
we
well.
We do. The player for the Lakers that we can't compete with, his name is Adam Silver. The league will make sure.
That's true. All
right,
true.
2 down, 2 to go.
Yeah, let's finish with football, so we'll go to the National Hockey League.
All right. So the National Hockey League, this has just been a weird season for the Minnesota Wild, and it just continues to be, I don't even know if strange is the right word. But again, I've asked this before, and I think it might just become a weekly question because with the Wild, there might not be anything left to ask. Buy or sell that John Hines stays?
Ooh, that's a question I haven't actually considered. I am going... So he's a Guerin guy.
Yep.
So I am going to buy that he stays on a short-term deal. Like, we don't have anybody right now. Let's give you another year. Because, let's be honest, they are crippled injured right now.
Right.
And so is that on him? No. This feels like penance for all of the near wins that we've had in the past, that we're just losing everybody right now. And plus, there's a 6'7" defenseman from Russia I sure would like to see them draft next year.
Yeah, I'm going to buy that he stays too because there's going to be so many decisions to make player for player that I think you just want the coach one behind you. And they've played well enough to be in a conversation. I mean, Dave Hoop said he's been excited watching to see if they can catch Vegas. They're not going to.
Nor should you want them to.
But it's been fun to be in the mix. I agree with that. So he's done enough to put you there when this season was supposed to bottom out. Now, some would argue they wish it would because, draftees that you're pining for, you got a better shot at. Here's one thing that I don't fully understand about hockey coaching, and maybe someone can enlighten me someday, but coaches have specialties. We hear about it in every other sport, and it has to exist in hockey too. I don't know what John Hines can do to help a penalty kill, but the Wild are awful in that department. Now, the number one thing, if your penalty kill sucks, is stay out of the box. This team cannot do that either.
Correct.
I don't know who needs to come in to right that ship, but this team, you hit number one, get healthy, and they're a different team. Number two is, my goodness, if you know what your weaknesses are, try to avoid them at least a little.
Feel free.
Right. All right.
Do we want to finish with football, or do you want to reach out for our guest before we do that one?
Well, a little bit of both. Give the shortest take maybe that you have in you because...
It takes me 10 minutes to say my name, Brian.
Dave Cook. Well, your family gets upset with me because I say it for you all the time.
Right.
I'm just trying to make the show easier.
That's exactly what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to give you a simple path.
Yep.
All right. So there's been a lot of steam about J.J. McCarthy, and there's been a lot of steam about Drake May. Buy or sell that you think the Vikings come out of this year's draft with neither one?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I would take the field. 100% agree. I want to ask PA later, what are the odds that they trade back from 11? But I think they're going to come out of this with McCarthy. I really do. But no, I think the odds are that they don't get either. I really hope they don't get McDaniels because KOC's offense doesn't lend it to his skills. Do you know what I mean? He's got a ton of skills, but O'Connell would have to change his offense for Daniels.
I was going to say, the only reason that people want that link is the LSU link, and JJ will be all nookie blanky, and JJ being Justin Jefferson, not JJ being McCarthy. I don't know how to answer that one either. I'm going to buy, but I'm going to buy it on clearance that they come out of this draft with neither one, just because of Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, and he's known for doing something that makes you go, what? I didn't see that coming at all.
Exactly
now,
right.
Hopefully it turns out to be a positive. The other thing I don't know is this team is set up to have a boatload of money next year. Are they throwing money at some available quarterback next year that isn't a rookie? I still need a franchise guy to be developed, but this team has done weird things before. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, 100% true. 100% true. What if they get the Arizona pick and their three quarterbacks get picked 1, 2, 3, and they pick Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Ooh, there you go. There's your Amon-Ra St. Brown. All right. We need more expert opinion on this. We'll go to a guy who's tuned in to the Minnesota Vikings. We're glad you're tuned in to us because kicking off hour number 2 is PA. Paul Allen. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.